We are Fandom Roulette.
Two nerds with a passion for
History,
video games,
tabletop games,
and, well, really any nerdy stuff that comes into our lives.
While we might not be able to name every ship classification in Star Wars,
Or every Pokemon.
or every spell in the player's handbook,
Well, one of us can.
we're still here to have a good time. Hey everyone, welcome to Fan Roulette. This is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And on Fan Roulette, this is a podcast where we talk about a myriad of nerdy things, including such things as history, video games, tabletop role-playing games, and any other nerdy things that we feel like talking about as they come up throughout the episode. So, Cody, wow, that was really clean and crisp. And,
It was like
And,
it's like we're a real podcast now. 90 episodes in. Not yet.
Nah.
90 more, and I think we'll be good.
Hey, Cody, how have you been?
I have been well. How have you been, my fair sir?
I've been great.
You're Tony the Tiger now. Nice.
I am Tony the Tiger now. Yeah, I took a pretty major plunge like last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I bought my own hard copy of the Dungeons Mastered Guide. And I
For
bought a hard
5e?
copy. Yeah, for 5e, and I bought a hard copy of the Player's Handbook.
Aw, shit.
So-
You're going to be a DM in no time.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
be
prepping.
that dungeon master.
I'm prepping stuff for my sister and some of her friends. They want to start a campaign, and so
Hot.
I was like, I've been around this blue marble a little bit. I want to give it a shot. It's just a matter of finding time for it, which I'm sure you can't relate to at all, right?
No, I cannot relate. My world is an open door, and
Yeah,
I
nothing,
just have
nothing filling up our evenings ever.
no, definitely not.
How about you? How have you been?
I've been good. I talked about it earlier.
Yeah,
But my second
time
group, my second group came back. So Elf Force 1 is back in full swing, and they just got back to their recently acquired castle to find out that somebody, while they were gone, stormed it and took it over. So they have to take it back. So that'll be fun.
Happens.
That's what happens when you leave your kingdom basically unguarded while you go off and do adventuring things like adventurers do. But I get to use probably a loose bastardization of Matthew Colville or MCDM's Kingdoms and Followers, which is a 5th edition supplement based on having big keeps with superpowers on them and having war conflicts and things like that. So it'll be fun to crack open that book again and get like into that mindset, because I haven't done that in a while, because this group was the one that kind of fell off the traditional scheduling for a hot minute. But I also, and I guess this is a preview for things to come,
Ooh.
I picked up a new, well, it's new for me. I don't know if it's actually new, but I picked up the tabletop role-playing game system Kids on Bikes.
Ooh.
Yeah,
That's fun.
It's going to be really cool. I've already started digging into it for reasons that I can't tell you very specifically, but it's fun.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. That's scary. Whoa, Cody.
Yeah, what?
Look off down there in the distance. Is that you with a wait, that doesn't make any sense.
Wait, I think you're right. I see me over there.
You see you in a group of adventurers.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to you in a group of adventurers. It's a gametic element that we do. It's a gametic bit that we do on the podcast, where Cody and I will alternate by coming up with clues to describe the plots of video games, movies, television programs, what have you, in kind of campaigny terms.
Yeah, so the concept that we kind of came up with is you take a pop culture reference, like a movie or book or whatever, and you take the main premise of said concept and throw it like an elevator pitch for a new D&D campaign for your friends and whatnot.
Yeah. So I did last times.
Yeah.
So you and a group of adventurers need to save your true love from marrying the wrong man.
So that being said, so I think I will say the right answer first, and then I will say my answer. So the right answer was the thing I came up second, and I was like, oh man, that's probably the right answer, but that's not the first one that I thought of.
Okay.
The one that I think is right is Princess Bride.
Ding 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 ding.
Yes. All right.
That is correct.
So here is my. So this was my first thought.
Okay.
Shrek.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of a late in the movie entry, but yeah. I see where you're coming from.
So immediately I was thinking of Smash Mouth's All-Star because that is the only thing that plays in my head because I'm a proper American.
That's correct. That's correct.
Correct. And so that's what I wanted the answer to be. But then, like, as soon as I, like, reread it to myself, I was like, oh, shit, that's Princess Bride. Fuck. But I liked it either way.
Yeah. I felt like the true love thing was...
Yeah, that's the thing that the second time I read it gave it away. I was like, shit.
Yep.
But Shrek and Fiona...
I didn't put a lot of stank on it like I did the first time. That first one. Put a lot of stank on that first one. Hit me with your...
fun. Yeah, so mine... I hope it's not too easy, but we will see. I had to workshop this a little bit to make it a little harder. So if it's like too hard, we'll talk about it on the next episode. But anyways, you and a group of adventurers must get vengeance on the hexed posse that ruined your career.
The hexed posse that ruined your career?
Yes. Okay. I'll say it one more time. You and a group of adventurers must get vengeance on the hexed posse that ruined your career.
Can you hit me with what medium this is?
The medium is movie.
The medium is movie. A hexed posse that ruined your career. All right, I'm going to think on this one.
Yeah, think on that one. There were a couple of renditions of this, and the first two were like, oh shit, you're going to get it like immediately because it kind of revealed too much of the theme. And I think the theme gives it away. That might be a
Do you have those other two written down?
I no, but I will.
Do you have them fresh enough in your noodle that you could write it down like right quick?
Yeah,
I'd be curious if I can't guess it, if you gave me the other one, right, and see if it works out. You know, that's something I'd be curious.
Well,
about.
honestly, it's literally just like it was rewording some of the middle.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna think on this bad boy. But yeah, Cody.
Yeah,
I spent good monies on a Dungeons Master's guides.
Yeah, you are officially a guide of the Dungeon Master.
Take me to DM school.
Well, see, here's the thing that you didn't realize. So you blinked, and suddenly you were in your school uniform from when you were a child, because you now went to a private...
White polo.
Yeah.
White polo, navy blue pants.
Yeah, with a belt and tie or whatever, because...
Yeah, that was high school. I didn't have to wear a tie in grade school.
Yeah, whatever. And what you didn't realize is that not only are you wearing those clothes, but now you're in that old, like... school desk where like there's like the wooden table that kind of folds out from the right.
Oh, hell yeah, I know this one.
It's like the broken ass plastic seats, and like someone has like carved penis into the wood of
and then
either
someone
the top
took a penis and made it look like a rocket ship.
Yeah, and then somebody tried to get rid of the rocket ship parts to recreate the penis. Like, that's where
someone
we're
turned
at.
that into a mouse.
Yeah, and then somebody just put, like Frank was here, and you're like, what?
Somehow this is less weird than me making fun of Final Fantasy VII before knowing that you were going to be talking about Final Fantasy VII.
I know.
But
shit.
Penises.
Anyways. Right. I mean.
So is that okay? So I'm taking my notes right now.
Right. Yeah. So you pulled out your.
Is penises part of being a DM?
No. You can scribble
sure?
that out or erase it.
Hey, are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I've had to roll some seduction checks in my day.
I mean, you can have one, but I don't think it's required to be a dungeon master because that has certain connotations to it that I don't agree with.
All right, I'm doing a Robert De Niro nod right now.
So, anyways, if you've been following us,
just ignoring that comment.
Yeah, maybe a little.
Moving right along. Da, 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 da. It's the last episode.
So, if you are familiar with this session, like I guess it would be segments of the show.
Sure. Let's do that.
You're already ready to go into your first session and have fun, right? At this point, we are looking at the future and the things that I struggled with, and I know that other people struggled with, because as I was doing research on this topic, I noticed this became quite a, like, it's on D&D memes, it's a common problem among a lot of people, and I struggled with this early on as well. And so we're going to talk about consequences.
Okay.
Consequences. So the problem is, and we've all heard this term before, the murder-hobo.
Yeah.
Classic D&D terminology. Classic. And it's the concept and the play style of players where basically their first or last choice usually ends up with a whole lot of murder and leaving a town. And they become basically murdering vagrants that go from town to town, fucking everything up. Hence the term murder-hobo.
Yep.
And it's super common because I think there's a lot of factors to why this was common. I think a lot of it is if you come from video games, like 80% of the time, violence is the answer. Unless you're playing a very specific game that's like trying to avoid that. Like if you look at old games, it is violence, right?
Yeah.
Like even Mario is like smashing Goombas on the head with his boot, right?
Sure.
So I think that's part of it. And I think another part is like the way that, and sometimes this is the way that DMs, dungeon masters, game masters, whatever you want to call it, the person who is kind of in charge of running this game, they have created a situation where the murder-hobo thrives.
That's true. That's true.
And I have been susceptible to this. I did that. My big early rookie mistakes when I was doing a lot of like fun one-shots in the same town, a lot of it was like would turn into just these bloodbaths of like, well, I'm just killing a bunch of people because like there's no consequence. Like as long as I murder people, it's whatever, right? So if you're tired of this motif, or like you're afraid of this idea that like, you know, because you're going to create NPCs if you homebrew, or you're going to like get attached to the way you play certain characters and things like that. And if you don't want this to be the way the game is played, you know, first and foremost, you could probably talk about this in session 0, about how setting the expectation that like, hey, going around and wantonly murdering people isn't going to be okay, right? Sure. Like I think that's the easy session 0 solving problem, which I feel like session 0 is kind of a catch-all solution to a lot of like those weird social dynamics that people get kind of like, how do I deal with this problem? So that's an option. But like, also that being said, there might be somebody who's like, I still want to murder a lot of people. And I think a big part of that is partially due to the fact that how DMs run a game. So a lot of times I ask myself this question. If your party was to kill the barkeep, what happens? And you'll ask yourself this question in various forms a lot. What happens when the party does something like this? And if you don't have an answer to it, or you realize very quickly that like, oh shit, the party could just go around murdering people and that solves the problem, that's your issue, right?
Yeah.
And I think part of this is consequences. The other kind of secret like thing about this is kind of learning how to think in a way that propels your game forward naturally, right? So like players are going to make some silly decisions, and I'm always thinking about what that means, right? And not just like in that moment, right? If it's got an outstretching situation, like let's say you work with the local thieves guild, and somebody, and in public you decide, oh, I'm going to talk to who I know is the thieves guild leader and give him this stolen item, and in return he's going to pay me gold. What happens now? Right? Like in the things you're in control of course, because obviously the DM isn't really in control of the players. That's kind of the nature and the fun / beauty of a tabletop role-playing game. But like, what happens when you make a deal with the notorious bandit leader or the thieves guild leader in a town? Right? Like, what do the guards notice? Do nobles notice that like, oh shit, they just talked to like the one guy we don't talk to in town because they'll fuck us over? Sure. Like, what happens when the party decides that because their friend and party member Shlogdar, the drunk barbarian lizard, got put in jail and they decide to break him out? What happens? Right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's not something out of the privy of the player concept, right? Because like, and this is a thing that happens, like, basically it's thinking, how do I put this in? Basically it's thinking forward and trying to think the worst of a situation, I guess. Yeah. I think that's part of the DM experience is like, okay, because you're constantly wanting to challenge your players, right? Like that's kind of a through line. Like I mean, sure, there are games where maybe it's just like, oh, we just want to kill goblins and win. And like, that's a fine game. That's fun. But as you progress and you want to play different games, you're going to start trying to challenge them, and you can't challenge them with the same stuff. So you have to wonder, how do I turn this situation into something new, some new problem they have to deal with? And so let's just take breaking out of prison. I think that's an easy one.
Sure.
So obviously you break your friend out of prison. Well, obviously the people who ran the prison know who broke out. So now there's wanted posters, right? All of a sudden, Shlogdar the lizard, that people are looking for him now. The prison goes and it's like, hey, mayor or prince or king or whatever your situation is, like, this guy escaped and his friends broke him out of prison. Well, the people who broke them out, unless you put on masks and nobody saw you do it, they know who you are, and now you're on the run, right? Like, you've committed a crime. First, it was just someone in jail. Now, but now word spreads, right? Now you're wanted fugitives.
Uh-huh.
And let's say, you're thinking about it, and your party decides, well, we'll just skip town, right? They can't send all their guards to come at us at the next town over. We'll just lay low for a while. But word starts to spread. They want to make sure that you're caught, so they spread out the word. Oh, these 5 individuals or these 6, whatever you want. Oh, shit. Now, word is spread around that you are capable prison breaker outers. I don't know if there's a term for that. Probably better than what I said.
Uh-huh.
But now you have other thieves guilds being like, hey, we got a buddy in prison. Help us break him out, right?
Uh-huh.
And maybe they say no right away. They're like, no, we're not going to fall for that shit. Like, we're not going to try to do that again. But then the thieves guilds start threatening them. Or maybe they start taking things. Or maybe they start telling the local guards where they're hanging out. See, now you've got a two-sided issue. You now have the law following you, but now you either have to work with the thieves guilds to continue to do crime, or they're against you. And so now you have no allies in this situation. So let's, as a game master, you are allowed to have the world react to the party, right? Okay. Your party is this chaotic force that is going to do wild things in your game. And I mean wild. I've had people throw Molotovs at government buildings.
Never once happened.
Never once.
Never once. Fake news.
I've had people blatantly lie about the murder mysteries that they've been trying to solve as active members of the police force.
Fake news. Never happened.
And I've seen a lot of wild shit with the Rowdy Rough Boys, which is basically a thieves guild in a big town. Your world is allowed to react to when they murder somebody important or rob a noble, or eventually things are going to catch up, and you just escalate the issue by introducing new things. Like, what happens, like, let's say they break out and they're like, okay, well, we're fucked in the second city because now there's this thieves guild who wants us. Now so now the thieves guild has been like, oh, hey, we saw them. And maybe they're like, to basically pony up to their threat, they make it seem like you've done something worse. Now you have bounty hunters tracking you down. Now there's a huge gold price on your head. Now other adventurers, people who might be more skilled than you, or perhaps people with, like, instead of just like 1 or 2 guards, you've got whole platoons of guards who are soldiers who are looking for you because you've done more, right? So now, granted, you can do this in a lot of different ways too. You could also do this with good deeds. What happens when the party does good things? Right? So now, maybe the town is saved by a group of bandits, right? Maybe the party's done that. Perfect. The town gives them maybe a free night at the inn. Maybe they give them like some kind of big reward. They have a party, blah, blah, blah. And then they travel to the next town, right? The adventure is to the west. Now people are kind of expect them to behave in a certain way. And so maybe the party's rogue gets caught doing something. Now all of a sudden people are upset with them. They're like, what the fuck? You're supposed to be the good guys. Now you're doing all this evil stuff, and maybe they kick you out of town, right? Or maybe, you get caught up in this situation where, maybe you need to be discreet, but people know you as like these big heroes, right? Word has spread that the Magnificent Seven have been going around saving people from ogres and whatever. And now if you ever see 7 people banded together, the whole town's gawking at you and being like, can I have your autograph or whatever? Like, always, this is something that takes time. This isn't something you can just drop into, but always think about not consequences works in like the bad scenario. But think about how basically being reactionary to what the party does is going to create a living world that feels real, and it's going to be a lot more difficult for adventuring parties to just be like, all right, well, we're just going to murder all these nobles because they're being assholes.
Sure.
Because all of a sudden that's no longer an option. If your party has learned from anything that you've done, if you let the world react to the party, you know, they know that murdering a bunch of nobles, like if you're going to do that, you better do that and make sure nobody finds you, which requires more resources. And I think at that point, if they've spent the time and gumption to do something like that, then maybe they've earned it. But then there's this mystery going around of like, all these nobles died, and now there's people investigating that murder, right? So like, even if like you give them the out or like you reward them for something cool, the world still reacts and there's still things happening, and because of that, the party has to adapt and deal with that thing, right? This is kind of like the same concept of Fronts from Apocalypse World. I believe it's called Fronts, but this idea that organizations or just the world itself, like maybe it's the town, maybe it's some kind of guild, whatever it is, they're reacting to what you do regardless. Say you don't directly interact with them, you know, and they have an objective that they're trying to get, like they do that thing. And the idea of Fronts in Apocalypse World is that if the party doesn't deal, quote unquote, with that front gets stronger, they get closer to their goal, which is usually not good for the party. Yeah. So the idea here is to always be thinking about how the world reacts and having, you know, making sure that as long as the world is constantly reacting to the way the party behaves, especially in situations where, you know, killing is involved, you're not going to have a whole lot of murder hobos. I mean, they might be paranoid for sure, but they're not going to go around and kill. They're not going to try to kill every problem that they have, at least in my experience. Especially because in the current Redacted campaign that I'm in, we are in some deep shit because of things we did, and the only people. Like, we can't just wantonly murder everybody, even though that's what we want to do. Because everyone's just out to get us, and it's a bad news bears. But if we went around and killed everybody, we'd be in deeper shit than we already are. And so, a lot of us, like, our mindsets have changed since the beginning of the game. Like, we're no longer, like, just haphazardly doing things. We're being meticulous and thoughtful about how we approach situations because we know that the world reacts to us. So this is more of I guess it's more philosophical and like kind of like mindset treating, like you're setting up a new mindset because it might not be so, it's not quite black and white like that. You know, it's not like, oh, just this is the mechanic. This is a lot more like, it's almost like world building to a certain degree, right? Like you're being creative about like how the world reacts to your players. Cause like that's what you're in charge of, is the world around them, even though they arguably have way more control than sometimes they even realize.
Sure.
But yeah, that's kind of my tip, is to be thinking about how the world reacts. And if you get that down and you start to find really good ways to incorporate, like, oh, party did this, well, I can do this, and that'll be really cool. You're going to create adventures and campaigns and what have you, even one-shots for that matter, that were like, wow, those are fucking cool. I want to do that again. So... advanced techniques.
Sounds good. I don't
do you have
any
any
questions or anything?
No?
That makes perfect sense to me. Yeah.
Cool.
Shall we put a pin in this bad boy?
Oh, absolutely.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much for listening to Fandom Roulette. If you enjoyed this and you would like to hear more and learn more about who we are and what we do and all that good stuff, Cody, what are some ways that they can do that?
Well, the nexus, the very through point of where all Fandom Roulette lies is our website. If you go to www.fandomroulette.com, you can find all of our episodes where we talk about a myriad of nerdy shit. If you're looking for anything, dadgummit, you're going to find it there. If you scroll down, you get a little bio about us, what we do, and kind of how we fit into this kind of Fandom Roulette stuff. And as we grow, there'll be, more detailed bios and, more stuff as we continue to grow. And then underneath that, towards the bottom, right above our social media and our platform links, there's a little area where you can write fan letters or fan questions, just general. If you want to contact us about anything at all, you can put your internet tag, your internet handle, and then, a brief thought or question or comment, and it gets sent directly to us to look at. And we love talking with our fan base or just people in general. So yeah, feel free to hit us up on our website. And if you're looking for kind of our social media platforms, if you want to get at us on Twitter, you can find us at fandomr_podcast. That's our Twitter handle. And on Facebook and Instagram, you can find us on Fandom Roulette, where we do a lot of posts on when new episodes come out and when I stream on Twitch, which is every Monday from 6 to 10 p.m. EST. And basically just funny memes and things that we like doing in our spare time while we're not recording these episodes or editing these episodes. So if you want to get more of IRL stuff, you can find us there. And if you've got friends and you want to show them the podcast, but they're being weird about the medium, we're on all sorts of mediums. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, RSS feeds, you name it. We're on most of them. And
hell yeah.
Yeah, please rate, review, subscribe, hit the bell, likes, all the loving you can. We greatly appreciate it. We do this as a passion project and we love hearing from people. So any of those things will let us know that you are listening and you love us.
Yep. And once again, we want to thank you for listening to Fandom Roulette. And signing off for Fandom Roulette, this is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.